Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on a really cool and high-end AR-15 type rifle. This is the American Defense Mfg UIC, or the Universal Improved Carbine. Now, this is a model that is offered in a ton of different variants, from colors, barrel lengths, handguard lengths, muzzle devices, and many different options. You can customize these things to your heart's desire. And I'm going to tell you exactly what is on this particular rifle in just a moment. But I'm really excited to get to shoot this because somebody that lends a lot of guns to my channel, his name is D, you guys have probably heard me talk about him, I told him that I was going to get a chance to review this rifle. And he was really excited because he doesn't even own one, and he says, I'm really interested in it. So I hope he enjoys this review and my thoughts. But before we get into the things that I like and don't like about this rifle, as always, I want to thank the people that make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this really nice AR. His name is Charles. He's a local fan and subscriber. So thank you so much, Charles, for lending one of your guns for review. I always want to thank my Patreon supporters because through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on. You guys know us firearms content creators are always battling YouTube, and my patrons go a long way in helping me keep this content coming to you. And as always, my primary sponsor, who provides all of the ammunition for these range reports, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And yes, once again, it's that time that I tell you about the amazing work of Mark at Brownworks. I'm telling you guys, Mark is an artist. He's a craftsman. He makes some of the best wood pedal grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. He can put on custom logos, custom engravings. He even makes his own laminate woods. And I know if you're watching this video, you like high-end AR-15 type modern sporting rifles. And he even has things for you. Take a look at this. Wood panel grips for, yes, the AR-15. I know a company that's making grips for AR-15s. You probably have never heard of it before, but if you want something that is special, unique, and different, Mark can make it for you. So if you want to get those special looks at the gun club, or you just want something nice for your family heirloom pistol or barbecue gun, Brownworks is the place to go. So I'm going to put a link in the comments section below, as well as a 10% off coupon code for your first order. I'm going to ask that you guys go over there, check out everything he has to offer. If you don't find what you're looking for, please make sure to contact Mark. He has amazing customer service, and when you do, please tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so let's talk about what this rifle is. Once again, this is the American Defense Mfg UIC, or the Universal Improved Carbine. And as I mentioned in the opening of this video, you can order these and get them in a number of different variants, from colors, stocks, handguard lengths, barrels. And the barrel length on this one is 13.9 inches, and it is pin and welded with a Surefire muzzle device to 16 inches. So this is not an NFA weapon. It is not a short-barreled rifle because it is pinned and welded. I know some people are going to ask me about that. Now, the owner of this rifle, Charles, has changed out a few things, but most of the components are actually the way they came from the factory. But I do want to give you a little overview of how he has set this up and what he has changed, just in case you think these things changed my opinion of this rifle. He has changed out the MOE Magpul SL stock for a CTR. He changed the Geisley G2S trigger for a SSAE, and those triggers are awesome. The Super Semi-Automatic Enhanced, I love those things. In fact, I used one recently in my Mark 12 Mod 0 build. It has the Surefire War Comp pin and welded, as I mentioned before. It is Cerakoted Midnight Bronze. It uses a Trijicon Credo 1:8 by 28 scope, ADM Recon scope mount, SIG iron sights, Slate Black Industries M-Lock panel, and a Surefire Mini Scout Light Pro with Surefire pressure pad. So he has a lot of really high-end options on this, but the internals of this gun, with the exception of that trigger, are just the way that they came from the factory. So that's what this gun is. So let's talk about the things that I like and don't like, and as always, let's talk about the things that I like first. The first thing I'm going to say is the brand recognition. As I said, I've been reviewing guns for some time, and this is a company I have only heard people rant and rave about. And every time I say I have an ADM firearm, they're like, wow, I can't wait to see your review on that. People just know what they are, and that's kind of cool. It's like having a Rolex, I guess. So I'm really hoping that this gun lives up to that reputation that everyone thinks it has. I'm also a huge fan of how they designed the lower receiver. This thing has ambi controls, safety selector, obviously, magazine release, and the bolt release. And what's really cool is on this side, the bolt release, you push down right there with your trigger finger. Everything is easily accessible and very ergonomic. I really like that a lot. Two other things that I really like that came stock with this rifle is, of course, the Radian Raptor charging handle. I'm a big fan of these larger charging handles on the modern ARs, and that Surefire War Comp. Now, they do have other options, of course, depending on what type of suppressor you run, but Surefire makes some awesome flash hiders, and I've really felt that they have been really effective in the past when it comes to mitigating the flash and even the recoil a little bit on the guns that I've reviewed that have had them. Also, as I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of this color. You guys know I'm a big fan of flat dark earth. And while this is not quite flat dark earth, this midnight bronze is very, very attractive and seems to be applied very evenly to the upper and lower receiver and the handguard. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And finally, the trigger. Now, yes, he did upgrade the trigger to an SSAE, but I still think the original Geissele's that go in these are really nice. Geissele makes, honestly, in my opinion, the best drop-in AR-15 triggers out there. I know there's some other companies that I like, but Geissele has just been the most consistent, and they have so many different options. And if you guys have never shot a rifle with a Geissele trigger, I highly recommend it. They're just awesome. All right, so now let's talk about a couple things about this rifle that I don't like. And the first one you guys can probably already predict if you've seen my other reviews, and that is this uses a billet upper and lower receiver. Now, they are machined very, very nice, but obviously they do not look like a mil-spec AR-15 receiver set. Now, they are going to work functionally fine, but for me, I'm just a big fan of that classic look. Now, some people may say they look old and boring and like these billet uppers and lowers. But to me, they just look a little bit too blocky and a little bit more busy than what they really need to be. I understand why they do it. You can do a lot of customizable things to them with the built-in trigger guards and so forth. But for me, I just don't like the look of them as much, and the fact that because they are billets, sometimes they have to be a little bit thicker than the forged receivers. I've just always preferred the forged receivers. Getting back to the controls, let's talk about this 45-degree safety selector switch. For me, I like them to be traditional. I know that you can swap these out, but the way the rifle is set up is how I review them. I just like them to be at 90 degrees. I know a lot of people like these safety selectors at 45. It's a shorter throw, but personally, I like them at 90. For some reason, I find myself putting my thumb on them by accident if they're in the 45-degree position, and I keep trying to put it back up into 90 just because that is what I'm used to. Another aesthetic choice that I might not be a huge fan of, but I have to wait until I shoot it, is this rail. Now, the rail, I think, is very functional with all these M-LOK slots, and of course you got that M1913 rail on the top. But something I have mentioned in some of my previous range reports is a lot of companies these days go with the ultra-thin handguards, things that are really close to that barrel and have a lot of contact surface with the barrel up here around the barrel nut and the receiver, and a lot of times that causes a lot of heat. I like my handguards to be a little bit more robust and a little bit thicker. So I'm curious if this gun is going to heat up in this range report. But that's just based off of my experience from the really thin handguards of the past. So that's what I like and don't like about this rifle and how it's set up. So let's get this thing to the range. Let's see how it shoots. I'm really excited. As I said, everyone says these things are just the bee's knees of ARs. So as always, I'm going to set up the target at 10 yards. I'm going to run a magazine through this just to see what my initial impressions are, if I have any issues with it at all, what the recoil is like, how the trigger is. what the report of the weapon is, and then I'll let you know my personal thoughts on this first magazine. All right, and all I can say is this review is off to a fantastic start. I only have positive things to say about this gun. The first thing, it is extremely well balanced. One of the advantages of those thinner handguards that I said that I don't like is that they are lighter and it keeps the center of gravity a little bit further back. And the balance of this gun is fantastic. And of course, that trigger is awesome. I already told you, Geissele's are where it's at. Now, when it comes to the actual performance of this gun, let me tell you, I think this might be the lightest recoiling AR-15 rifle I've ever shot. Now, the AR-15 already is extremely light shooting. This thing feels like a 22 long rifle, so maybe it has to do with the balance or the proper gassing of this gun. It runs great, extremely low recoil. And finally, something that I noticed that's a little bit different is the action spring on this AR is very quiet. Often when you shoot an AR, because your head is right here on the stock, you hear that action spring and that bolt come back into the buffer tube. You don't really hear it on this. It's really a very quiet action. At first, I thought there might be something wrong, but this thing is really pleasurable to shoot. So only positive things to say about this. And it obviously shoots pretty accurate for me. I was going a little bit fast. I love this rifle so far. All right, so as always, let's set out the target at a further distance. I always want to make sure that these groups don't go really big on me, or if I have any other issues, see if any other problems might present themselves. So here we go, another magazine, and let's see if my opinion of this rifle changes or stays the same. And I'm going to be very honest with you, my comment on this portion is exactly the same as it was in the last one. It is a lot of fun and very nice to shoot. It is really kind of a Cadillac of ARs in this way, the way that it functions. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it seems to be perfectly gassed. Really, and I do mean that. I'm not getting a lot of that gas smell. The action doesn't seem like it's running too fast or too hard. I'm getting great ejections with this thing. I really feel like this gas system is finely tuned. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I am really happy with this. All right, well, These things are known for their accuracy, so I know I'm only at a 25-yard range, so I'm expecting amazing results. I'm going to go ahead and bench rest this thing and see what type of group I can get if I take the human element out of the equation. All right, and there you go. I don't think you can argue with those results at all. And that just goes to show that this busts the myth of the short barrels. I often hear in my reviews of other short-barreled ARs, and by the way, as I said, this is a 13.9-inch barrel that is pin and welded to 16, but the actual rifling is just that 13.9. People say they're not as accurate because they don't stabilize the bullet. Now, you do lose the ballistic advantage of a longer barrel, so the round does go down range a little bit slower. However, it does stabilize and you can get the same amount of accuracy. So this is just proving that myth is a myth. All right, so now as always, I want to give my wife Becky a chance to shoot this. She loves to shoot every gun that comes through the Texas Gun Vault, and I always like to get her perspective as a female shooter because she might not be into the mechanics or the history of guns like I am. She might not be as excited about what this gun is, and it's great to just get her perspective. So let me load up another magazine and see what she has to say about this rifle. And all she told me after shooting it was, I really like that rifle. And trust me, that is a huge ringing endorsement because often she tries to find the worst things in guns that she doesn't like. And she can be kind of picky, and she really liked this. She actually thought it was going to be heavier than what it was because it has this scope on it. But the rifle itself is really light, and as I mentioned, it is extremely light shooting. And so the next thing I want to do, of course, is shoot this thing as fast as I can. And we're going to go through two tests. The first thing is going to be the quick magazine change. I want to see if I can change this mag out, get it back in action as quickly as I possibly can, because after all, you might be a competition shooter, and after all, I'm just an average gun guy. So if I can do this fast, I know you can as well. And I'm also curious if I can shoot this trigger really fast in quick bursts. So here we go. Let's see if I have any issues changing this magazine out quick and getting the gun back in action. And well, I think I found the first thing about this gun that I have an issue with, and that's actually getting these magazines out of the gun. I did notice, maybe because these receivers are billet, and as I told you, billet receivers just seem to have a little bit different specs than your standard forged receivers, and maybe it has something to do with the coating. When the gun is tilted just a little bit, you try to drop that mag, it doesn't always want to fly out of there. It does right now here on the workbench, but when I was shooting it, it didn't drop out that quick. I actually had to strip that magazine out. I actually tried this a number of times and had exactly the same result. Obviously, I can shoot the gun really fast because this trigger is awesome, but I did have some problems with the magazine reinsertion and having to strip that magazine out. So if you do buy this gun, plan on running it fast like that in competition shooting, you might have to figure out what magazines work best. I was using both PMag Generation 2 and Generation 3 magazines. All right, well, before I give you guys my final thoughts, I just want to give you guys the gun porn. This thing can obviously run fast, so I'm going to give you a 30-round mag dump as fast as I possibly can. And that is about as fun as it comes. This gun is so easy to keep on target. It's such light shooting. It shoots really fast. I haven't had one failure to feed, failure to eject, no issues when it comes to the internal workings of this gun. The only issues I have had are my personal thoughts on maybe the billet lower and upper receiver, and of course getting that magazine out quick, but I'm sure we can overcome all of that. And this thing has really exceeded my expectations. I've shot a lot of high-end ARs lately, and I have to say I've gotten kind of spoiled. And so when it comes to an AR impressing me and thinking it goes above and beyond my expectations, it's kind of rare. And this gun does fit that bill. So let's talk about this thing. My overall impressions. I really like this thing. It might be the nicest shooting AR-15 I have reviewed in a very long time. And yes, I am glowing over this thing. This is a gun that I would be very interested in having one day myself. However, I have one thing I discovered after putting all these rounds down range, and it's something I talked about in the beginning of this range report that I said might be a problem. And yes, it's the handguard. And it's getting hot. And I don't mean it's just getting a little bit uncomfortable, but it's getting really hot. So let me show you the picture of the laser thermometer. Yeah, there you go. It's hot. You see how hot this thing is getting. And trust me, that heat is going all the way down the handguard. And I really haven't shot it too much. I would say in the whole course of this range report, I put about 150 to 200 rounds through it. Granted, that's not a whole bunch, but this handguard is getting hot up near the chamber. Hotter than I think about any other AR-15 I've ever shot. So that is going to be the one big downside to this. But the performance of this gun, the accuracy of this gun, everything else about this gun exceeded my expectations. It is awesome, and I'm very, very impressed with it. I went and looked at their website. I think I could find a lot of options and barrel lengths and different colors that I would be very happy with. So if you're looking at an American Defense Manufacturing UIC rifle, I don't think you can go wrong. Now these things, as I said, are really nice and very customizable, so you might spend a lot of time trying to build one out the way that you would want, but I think it would definitely be worth it. So on my star system, how would I rate the American Defense Manufacturing UIC, the Universal Improved Carbine? Well, it did get hot. I did have a couple of issues aesthetically with the gun, but the gun exceeded my expectations. So easily 4.75 stars out of 5. It is about as close to a perfect review as I could possibly give it. This thing is super accurate. It is super fun to shoot. Very light recoiling. I've never had an AR not have that buffer spring sound. This thing is awesome. It is perfectly gassed, well built, beautiful color. It's just awesome. So that is my thoughts, opinions, and experiences on this rifle. What do you think? Have you guys ever shot, or do you own an ADM rifle? And what do you think? I'd be curious to fire and review some of the other variants and see if the different barrel lengths or different handguard options really changed my experience, and put this up at a 5-star review. But you guys would have to tell me, what do you guys think? And is this a carbine that would interest you? So let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.